everyone. Happy Friday. I hope everybody's having a beautiful, beautiful day. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about something that 80% of Americans have, and that's inflammation. And when we have inflammation in our bodies, what happens is it actually causes inflammation in our brain, right? And we have to wonder why so many people have mental health disorders now. A lot of it stems from inflammation, and people don't realize how important it is to reduce the inflammation in your body. And I was doing so much research in the last week or so on inflammation and what's called leaky brain. And it's actually something that's been around, and a lot of people didn't believe in it till recently. They started doing studies. It's called leaky blood-brain barrier. And it's what it is, we have this, our brain that is very, very sensitive organ, right? But it's shield. It has a protective shield around it, and which blocks from all the harmful substances, that are in our bloodstream. So the blood-brain barrier, the barrier around the brain, acts as a filter, and it allows different nutrients to pass while blocking all the toxins and the pathogens and all types of other, compounds that could come into our brain, right? So when it's compromised and our body is super inflamed with inflammation in our cells, we can get what's called leaky brain. And what it is it when that happens, unwanted substances that are in our environment or the foods we eat can impact our brain health. And we could start having all kinds of brain health issues like neurological diseases, mental health disorders, and just a lot of, Alzheimer's, dementia, different things that would affect our overall brain health. So, the blood-brain barrier is semi-permeable, and it's a membrane that separates the blood from the brain's fluid. And it's primarily specialized by the endothelial cell lining the brain blood vessels, right? So these cells are really packed together and formed really tight, and it forms a junction that limits the passage of most substances in the cell. So beyond the epithelial cells, the blood-brain barrier also encircles the epithelial cells and help regulate the flow of your blood in your brain, okay? And this actually, contributes to the barrier integrity of the whole system. So when the arrangement of the brain maintains a stable environment, shielding it from all the harmful compounds while allowing, necessary molecules like oxygen and glucose and water to enter, then everything coincides. But when a little tiny leak happens from inflammation or different substances, then we start having inflammation. So several factors can actually, cause the blood-brain barrier to disrupt. Inflammation, like I said, that weakens the blood-brain barrier. That's a tongue twister, right? Chronic inflammation, chronic. So if you're eating like bad foods all the time, McDonald's, Burger King, all these things, you're not exercising, you have a sedentary lifestyle, this really increases the damage in your brain, okay? And this allows all these toxins and compounds and immune cells into the brain, leading to what's called neuroinflammation. So oxidative stress and imbalance between, the oxygen, the antioxidants play a huge role. So the brain is particularly vulnerable to all the stress and high metabolic rate of oxygen consumption. When it's the elevated levels of the reactive oxygen species are elevated, it actually disrupts the blood-brain barrier. And this allows all these neurotoxins and to actually hit our brain. and pathogens into the brain. And this could just be, something normally that a normal person was exposed to, and once in a while here and there, instead of chronically, and all of a sudden it's a chronic thing. Because chronic stress too is another factor linked to blood-brain barrier permeability, which causes inflammation. So if you're constantly under stress, or if you have diabetes or elevated homocysteine, and this can actually induce oxidative stress and inflammation. And liver damage can do this too. And also, being exposed to environmental toxins. If you have allergies, if you have an allergy to mold and you're constantly around mold, constantly bringing in mold and breathing it in, what happens is you'll start getting inflammation in the body. And once you get inflammation in the body, you are going to have inflammation in your brain. So beyond cognitive and general symptoms, you can also have, headaches too. Headaches, persistent tiredness, fatigue. Overall, your body feels exhausted and you don't know why. It's because your body is fighting these different pathogens and trying to get well as the pathogens keep coming in, and you're trying to heal and they keep coming in. So you have to eliminate what is causing the inflammation in the body. And sometimes it's not easy to figure out what it is, because if you don't get to the bottom of it, what can happen is it could get worse, and you could start having neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and dementia from this. Autoimmune conditions like MS, lupus. You could be so inflamed that you start having thoughts that you never had, anxiety and depression, all kinds of different things that could be all related to a compromised blood-brain barrier inflammation. So how do you address it? Okay, first of all, like I said, get rid of the problem. You have to remove yourself. If you're in a toxic environment, you have to remove yourself. You need to get some lab tests done and access markers of your antibodies, which are the proteins related to both gut and blood. There's all kinds of tests you can do to find out your methylation, to see if once you start getting the testing done, then you can figure out what the problem is. You have to be your own detective. And that's what I've learned. I am my own medical advocate detective. And when things start going haywire, I have to, research and figure it out, because mainstream medicine, and nothing against doctors, but their primary function is medicine, and they want to prescribe. And not that that's a bad thing, because there's life-saving medications, antibiotics that save lives, different things that save lives. But when it comes to allergies and inflammation and metabolic things, you really have to research and find out what's going on with your own body and support your gut microbiome. Make sure that the gut bacteria in your gut is actually supporting your entire immune system and your brain. So with that said, I just had to talk about this a little bit, because when I feel like I learned something new, I have to share it. Even though I'm not asking for any compensation right now for this, but I do want people to know how important it is to take care of your body and your brain. And if you are interested in any of my classes, I have a really good class on regulating the nervous system, and that's on School, SKOOL. I'm also trying to find a publisher for my book, which is Healing Does Not Have to Be Rocket Science. I'm working on a product that I am trying to patent. It is called Neuro X8, and it will be a whole product line of wonderful, amazing, healthy drinks and supplements and everything. So in the meantime, let's take care of this beautiful, wonderful, amazing body the good Lord has given us. And just do your research. Find out what's really going on with your body. And if you think that you're losing your mind and you're having a mental health crisis, check your physiology first. It might be something systemically that is going on with your body that you think you're losing your mind. And it's just inflammation in the brain because the body's inflamed. Remember that. So, with that said, let's get rid of this inflammation in the body. And the more information we have, the more we can get rid of the inflammation. So, with that said, God bless, God bless, God bless. And if you're interested, message me below. I have some great information for you. I have some ebooks, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.